guys, welcome to the weeks that was, and I think we have to say weeks because it's been a while since we've done an update, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's close to a month now.
Yeah, it has been really crazy, and I suppose a lot of people don't see what happens behind the scenes. So because it's, you know, I've tried to sort of keep notes of what we've been up to. That would make it a huge video, and
like 2 hours or something. It'll take a while.
Tony's arm will fall off by then.
Yeah.
And so we just sat down and we thought, okay, what we're going to do is divide it by 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll just talk about what's happened in the last month, and then we'll go into individual details and stuff like that. So just in the last month, it has been bedlam with seizures for dangerous dogs and menacing orders. So if you've got a dog that's been involved in an incident, quite often the rangers will put an order on it, and that is to, I suppose, encourage owners to step up and take extra precaution. Now, we all know animals get out. You know, some people will try harder than others. But there are some animals that will go out into the community and they will hurt people and they will hurt other animals. And so what the rangers have is options for owners. Now, just because they've done something wrong doesn't necessarily 100% mean that they're going to get put down. It comes down to a lot of things. Whether or not the owners will comply and take the necessary precautions. Now, if it's a dangerous dog, the rangers will put dangerous dog orders on them, and that means that dog has to have a cage built, it has to go through muzzling, it has to have a whole range of things. If it's sort of okay, it's done something, but it has no further, previous history, they might go with a menacing order. And that means that the dog still has a lot of the restrictions on it, but it doesn't have to live in a cage. Now, every year the rangers will check on those animals to make sure that the owner hasn't fallen down on their responsibility, that they still have their dangerous dog signs, so that if you see a dog coming at you with a yellow and red sign, collar on, you know to take extra precaution, because there's a good chance that dog is going to hurt you. Okay, it's not always the case. It could be that they're friendly to humans but terrible to animals, but it is a warning collar to let you know. So what happens is, when the rangers do their audit, they want to make sure that the yard is secure, the dog is still where it's supposed to be, the details are still correct. Has it been desexed? Because if you get onto those orders, your animal has to be desexed. And so, because they don't want them breeding. And, do you have your dangerous dog sign still on your property? Have you still got your muzzle? Have you, are you doing everything that you're supposed to do? Now, if they don't, those animals will get seized until you comply. And when they come back into the pound, because a lot of these animals have already been in the pound and then they've gone home. And so if they've not complied or they've fallen down on their responsibility, the rangers will bring them back into the pound until the owner complies. Now, if the owner won't comply, the council have the right to put those animals down. Now, quite often what happens when an animal is involved in a dog attack, like, I'll step back a little bit, the rangers will give them option. This is what's going to happen. You're going to get a fine for the dog attack. These are what we're putting it on. This is going to be the control requirements for that animal. Some owners will say, yep, no problem, I can do that. Others will take the option, look, I don't trust it, I'm not happy, I can't manage it, and they'll put the animal down. And that is a decision owners generally make when they're given all options. There So at the moment, our rangers are doing those households. So we've had a lot of animals coming in that have been seized. And it can be for, something as simple as they've gone there and the animal was required to be desexed and it didn't get desexed. Now, they're given a time frame to do it. So we did have one animal recently, they were given a time frame to get the animal desexed. The rangers went back in that time frame, animal's not desexed, seized, brought in here. Now, those impound fees are a lot dearer than normal impound fees because it's a menacing or a dangerous dog. They haven't learnt, so the fees are a lot higher and it adds up very, very quickly. And of course then there's the fines for breach of your existing order, and there's a lot of people that don't get it. So in Maitland we are targeting well and truly, I think around 76 households, I think. And so, a lot of them have been great. They've been doing the right thing. Now we're working on the households that don't want to do the right thing. Or it's even tracking people down that have moved and not thought to change their paperwork. That's a huge fine for being in breach of your order, because your order stays, and it also applies to normal dogs. You must keep your details up to date so that if your dog is found, we can fine you. If you rehome that dog, you need to do a change of ownership and hand that into the council, not hand it to the person that you gave the animal to, because a lot of the times they don't do it. There's fines, a lot of fines. So we've been busy with a lot of seizures, and sadly some of those owners have opted to put the animals down. So it's been a bit of a rough month in regards to, we've had lots of vet visits, some for desexing those animals, which we were able to help quite a few of those. I think with menacing and dangerous dogs, I think we've done 5 or 6 desexings.
Yeah, there's been a few.
We had the one household with the 3 that I picked up and took over, and then Don took them home. I then had another 3 over there, and then we had one in impound the other day. We've had a few.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've been going to vets for numerous reasons. Also, we had a lot of animals come in. So just from the last update that we've given you guys to now, we've had 157 animals in. That's a hell of a lot of animals for a 25 bay pound with a small staff of 7. But we did it, didn't we? And so, and what we also found, there was a lot of challenges with so many animals, because at one point we had something like 56 at one given moment. And a lot of those were puppies seized or surrendered for various reasons. But they came in with full of worms. I remember you saying to me, Dee, there's worms. And Don would say, this dog's got blood in its poo. And, you go into like, oh gosh, okay, we've got to get on top of that, because obviously worms kill dogs, if they're, especially puppies and kittens, if you don't manage that quite well. And they make adult dogs very sick. So we had blood in the stools, we had worms, we had animals not coping, they were having their breakdowns, we had owners having breakdowns because their animals were in the pound seized because they didn't comply. I think there was one dog that their owners visited every single day, didn't they? And they were here
They were
all
amazing.
day.
Yep.
They even, guys, brought in their pillows from their bed and their doona because their dog sleeps with them. And so they left that and they went home without it.
We would
themselves.
rather that, though, and because they were here literally all day, we would rather that than the people who don't visit their animals at all. They just leave them in here to stress and be alone.
Yeah, and it's really sad that when they opt to euthanize their animal instead of complying, it's really sad that they won't go and be with their animal. Now, I tried to encourage one man to please come and be with your animal, and he was like, no. And thankfully his wife did, but she needed support too. That dog was their everything, and not only was he not there for the dog, he wasn't there for his wife. So I mean, in that respect, that dog was lucky it still had a loving owner. And you had one too, Tani, where he was going to come in and pay the fees to the vet and for the impound, and you explained to him that it would be kinder if he could go, because there was a good chance with his dog that it was going on a catch pole to protect the vets and stuff, because he was very iffy, and he was here for biting and stuff, and you explained to him it would be kinder, and that gentleman certainly stepped up, didn't he?
Yeah, and you could tell when he came here, you could tell he was upset about the whole thing.
He didn't want this to happen.
No.
But unfortunately, it was a case that the dog had done a lot of damage, and I guess in everybody's mind it was the right decision, especially I suppose if you can't 100% guarantee that he's not going to do it again. And it's serious. When animals lose lives and people end up in hospital, it's serious, and you don't want that animal to get back out and again, because the first thing everybody says is, why did the council release the animal? Why did the owner get the dog back? I mean, everybody gets an opportunity to do the right thing because mistakes happen. But they want to make sure that it's definitely not going to happen again. And some people can't guarantee that they can't manage that. And so they choose. I know it sounds terrible. It sounds like it's selfish and stuff like that. But I suppose in one way you could look at it that they're ensuring that no one else goes through what somebody else went through. Yeah. So that was a little bit about the number of animals that came into the facility. Did you want to have a break in between? Or
Yeah, my hand's getting a little shaky. We might have a little break.
So that's the animal side coming into the facility. We'll talk about what we've been up to next. So what else have we been up to? My God, I've been busier than what is it that they usually say?
Busy as a bee or something like that?
Busy as a bee, or flat out like a lizard drinking or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird ones.
There's a lot of saying. So Don and I actually went down to the Rangers conference down in Sydney. That was a 3-day course for Rangers, and it's very, very interesting for a number of things. One, you learn interesting things, things that we should know. We also get to meet other rangers, other pounds, other shelters. We also get to talk to the presenters about things that we might be experiencing. We also get some some hands-on training as such with seminars and stuff with dog trainers and people that this is their livelihood of helping animals in certain situations. And we also get to meet suppliers of products that, things like catch poles, or what the latest catch pole is, what the latest gadget is out there. And I remember the last time I went to a conference is when I came back with our feral cat cubes.
Yep.
And we should probably show one of those.
Yeah.
And had I not gone to a seminar and thought, oh God, that's amazing, especially when you've got some scaredy ones and they need a safe spot, but you need to be able to get into their cages and clean them. these things like the feral cat dens, it has a hole on the side that, we can shut thing, and we've also got a clear perspex front that we can see where the animal is as well, that goes down. We can open it that way, and that feral cat den can butt up against a cat trap, and so we can safely get a cat from a cat trap into a feral cat den, get it into a cage, open it up, and be safe. The amount of times that we all got injured in the earlier years getting cats out of cat traps, or they are running around the Sally Port, we've got to net them, and it's always very stressful for the staff, but it's very stressful for that animal because, they're panicking, they're trying to get away from us, and of course, a scared animal is a very dangerous animal. Mm-hmm. So, had I not gone to a conference, we wouldn't have went, oh my God, that's amazing. We need 50 of those. Seriously, I think I bought...
You bought
20?
A lot, yeah.
I bought 20, 25 of them.
Yeah, I don't think we needed that many, but you got them.
I've got them. So, going to these conferences is very beneficial. And so Don and I travelled down to the animal management one. So rangers go, there's several things that they do. First one might be compliance, and then you'll have the Office of Local Government talking about new rules and regulations, if there's been changes in the Act. They'll also talk to revenue, which are the people that, when you get fines and you don't pay them, it goes to revenue. And those sorts of things affect licenses, car regos, any government benefits, because it's a government accrued debt. So revenue comes along every year and they talk about, where things up, what they require from rangers, statistics and stuff like that. And then, of course, there's other things that, they'll talk about that are, relevant to the rangers. We will go on the animal management day. So Don and I trottled down. We did some training. We attended a number of seminars. We spoke to people that run other shelters. There was a really interesting guy called Pat Stewart. He is a dog trainer, and he had some interesting thoughts. He also trains attack dogs for the army. So those Belgian Shepherds and stuff that you see with the army and that, interesting enough, he talked about the animals, and when they're training animals for police and army and stuff, they train the animals to hold a person by the back teeth, so that they're not mauling the people, they're pinning them. And it's all coming down to the training of those animals. And those dogs have to be in a platoon with a lot of other soldiers. That dog has to be part of the gang. It can't be just a one-person dog for somebody. And same as a police officer, if that officer's sick or, goes on stress leave or whatever happens, that dog's got to be able to be managed by someone else. So it's really interesting that they use key words and signals to that animal of what they expect of it. But those animals are trained to use their back teeth. Very interesting. Also, another thing that, Pat was also talking about was our menacing and dangerous dog animals in homes. He was sort of saying, like if you get a cattle dog, and Tanya and I have had this same conversation over and over again about, because we've been going through our surrender wait list, and a lot of them are working dogs.
Yep.
And we said, why do people get a working dog and don't understand that when they nip you, that's their job? That's what
they're bred for specifically.
They're bred for, to nip cattle, to move them and everything like that. Then they take them and live in an apartment building, but they don't walk them. They go to work all day and they wonder why the animal is destructive, why it's a problem to them. And so, quite often a lot of those menacing and dangerous dogs come in. Yeah, they are a variety of animals, and yes, everyone's going to say, yes, it's a staffy. Yeah, a lot of them are, but a lot of them are cattle dogs
Mm-hmm.
and working dogs
Mm-hmm.
and Maremas.
Mm-hmm.
All these things that people don't understand. And one of the things that I found interesting that Pat said was, you take a working dog and you don't do everything, you don't exercise its mind and its body, which is what it's built for and what it's destined to be. And then you have problems, and then it does something, and then it gets a menacing dog order or a dangerous dog order, and then suddenly it's living its life in a muzzle and it's living its life in a cage. That quality of life for that dog has gone, and that it's only doing what it's been bred to do and what its nature is to do. He questioned whether or not were we making that dog worse, Did we turn a nice dog that did something that is part of its breed, what it was bred to do, did we turn it into a dangerous dog by confining it? So it was really eye-opening to listen to other people's perspective, and these guys actually talk to the OLG, they talk to rangers, and this is how some things in legislation get changed, by people talking about constant problems that they're having in their role day to day. And then someone says, yeah, I have that same problem. Yeah, I have that same problem. And, that's how legislation, I guess, gets reviewed. So it was very interesting. We went down there, and we were down there for 2 days. One for a full day course, and then we stayed overnight. And we caught up with people that we knew about in the industry but never met. And so, yes, I think I've never drank so much wine. The lesson is, do not sit with the group of them, because Don bought my first one, and then everybody says, my shout the next time. Lesson learned, stick to a group of maybe 2 or 3. By the time I got back to the room, I was like, I don't think I'm going to have any problems sleeping tonight. And did I? No, sorry, I did not. But I was not drunk. But for a person that has 1 glass of wine a week, I understand the terms munchies. Don was going to the vending machine. I'd actually got a bit dizzy at one point, and Don goes, enjoy that, Dee. This packet of lollies cost me $6.50. And I think it was that big.
Of course.
Seeing them in the supermarket for $2.50.
Yep.
So, another lesson learned. So that was about the Rangers Conference. Another thing that I also did...
Sorry, just before we keep going, I might get them to move the gurneying away from this area because it's quite loud.
Yeah.
Right, hold on a second.
Okay. Where were we up to, Tani?
Oh, I don't know, mate.
We've taken, in between this filming, we've dealt with the counter.
Yep.
Numerous phone calls.
Multiple.
Just called out a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And it's 10:27 in the morning, mate.
Yep.
Okay, so what else have I been up to? Well, in that time, I actually attended my first Animal Advisory Committee meeting with another council. So another council put out a request to the public, we want to set up an Animal Advisory Board, would you like to be involved? And so, anyway, everyone said to me, oh, Dee, you should do that. I'm thinking, sure, why not?
You always say yes, and then you're like, why am I so tired?
Yes, hence why I'm going away.
Yes.
But yes, so I attended my first Animal Advisory Board, and it's a little bit like when we were talking about changing legislation. Hang on one second.
So Pat just scooched him behind.
Pat has just come into the building as we're doing our filming. And I've put my finger up to say, wait a minute, woman, because we did a recent poll.
Snuck in there.
And the poll was Sandy or Anya. So Tani and I got online this morning to do a tally of the votes. I can see her shaking her head there. And it came down to...
We had a few other suggestions as well.
We did. So we'll get this over. Anya had 10 votes. Sandy had 7.
But if you include Pat's secret little vote...
And somebody called Izzy, we went, no, because that's the person that named Sandy. And we thought, that does not... Oh, look at this. We sorted it out.
She's looking for Lionel's pillow. That's what makes you look at it.
So, yes. Anya it is. But we did have a couple of... Pat, we did have a couple of suggestions. Sanya, between Sandy. And then there was
Sandaya or something?
Sandaya
or something
So
like that.
Sandy and Anya joined together.
It doesn't mean that Don, Sue and I aren't going to call her Sandy.
Kind of confuse the poor girl.
He's going to say Anya. Because the public have spoken, Pat.
Fair enough then.
I don't...
As long as she gets a good home.
Yeah,
Do you know
I don't
what's going to
think
have to
she's gonna-
happen? Pat's going to end up getting herself a fake profile, and then she'll
That
be
none of us
and
know.
that none of us know that she'll be voting to try and tip the
Might get the family into it.
I don't know if you guys heard that. She said she's going to get the family into it.
The voting has now closed, Pat. Fair enough.
I don't trust how she said that.
I know, right?
She's up to something.
Yeah.
Oh, little Polly's looking at you like, what is that noise in my little
Hello, my
house?
darling baby.
This is for Sandy's eye.
Oh, nice.
Anya. So anyway, I attended my first, get back on track.
Yep.
Attended my first meeting, and it's a bit like what we talked about with Rangers going down to the conference is, you know, this is how you try and, I suppose, get change to happen, you know, by having your animal advisory boards. If you get enough people behind and you get enough councils behind, hopefully as a collective, you go back to the powers that be and say, look, you know, these are some suggestions. So, you know, it's always good to have those sorts of boards and stuff and share ideas. Everybody comes from different walks of backgrounds. So there was me, and I represented my rescue, Central Coast Animal Care Facility, but I also sat on, I guess, on the fence because I run a pound. I understand the, I suppose, the things that the council go through, the loopholes they've got to jump through. I understand what challenges they face, where somebody in the rescue community does, you know, one of the suggestions was we want councils to pay for free desexing for every animal, you know. And
It's going to add up very quickly, isn't it?
not only does it add up very quickly, but I suppose when you look at it then, who pays for that? The government says, okay, everybody wants free desexing, let's increase your rates, let's increase your regos. Land rates go up, regos go up, rego on your animals, rego on your car. Nothing is for free, you know. So, you know, yes, there's a lot of things that we would love, but there's challenges. It's not an open slather. And so I suppose one of the questions that came up in the committee was, why were you there? Why did you want to participate? And there was a lot of people that, rescue groups, that wanted to speak up for cats. We had a lot of cat rescues there. And then there was, you know, just different walks of life, people that also work in other government departments. And so we all had to go through and talk about what we wanted from that animal advisory committee, what we were hoping to enact. And, you know, I said to them, look guys, I understand as a rescue group, I understand exactly what you guys are saying. You know, I think it, I feel it, I do all that. But I also sit on the other side, and I also know what challenges, and, you know, we all have limitations. So, you know, I said, instead of attacking one council, what you want from this one council, I said, what we need to do is hopefully get enough councils getting their animal advisory committees going, and then as a collective, all animal advisory committees coming together to then go to the OLG and say, look, this is what we need, this is what, you know, what the community needs and what they want and what they expect, and how can we go about it, how can we enact change. That's when things happen. You know, attacking one council, or, you know, and saying we want. One little council is nothing to a drop in the ocean. It's like a drop in the ocean. We have to enact change. We have to get things happening, do it well, so that we can encourage other councils to get on board. And that was why I decided that I would apply to be on that animal advisory, because yeah, we do need to have, the Act does need to change, and things do need to be reviewed, and, you know, but we need to do it properly. You know, we can't do it half-heartedly so it falls down. We just need to work together. And so that was why I wanted to do it. And so, yeah, it was quite good. I got to meet some people that I, again, have heard of their rescues, never met them. Some of them I've spoken to on the phone and helped them out over the phone, but never met them. So it was really great networking thing. Okay, so a lot of other things that we're also doing behind the scenes is our community support program. And I often get tagged into things on Facebook. Some I see, some I don't. I don't watch TV, I don't listen to the news. I really don't get any time for me to just sit down and catch up on what's going on around the world, what's happening around our own town. I have to rely on people to actually call me and say, hey, you know, this is the problem. Because quite often I don't see it. But once I see it, then I'll jump on it. I'll try and help where I can. And that's always been my mantra, is to say I'd rather be part of the solution than be part of the problem. And, you know, as much as I would love to be able to take on everything, sometimes it's difficult because cases come in really, really rapidly. We get a lot of cruelty reports now coming through to council because they're not getting anywhere with other avenues, and so, you know, it's not in my delegation to do that, and we don't have the powers to go into places, but we do try, and we've been very successful in helping some households, and others they just tell us to go away and there's nothing I can do. You know, as much as I find it frustrating too, because when I give my heart and soul to something, I give my heart and soul to something, and I find it incredibly frustrating and upsetting when I can't come up with a solution, especially when I know that animal needs that. So recently we had a dog come into the impound, and the owner was incarcerated. The person that was looking after the dog had passed away, and so, you know, the dog was living in the house by itself at the stage. People were coming and feeding it. And anyway, the dog got out, and the person looking after it said, well, you know, we don't want to, it's, you know, we're waiting on 2 rescues to get back to us. You know, our next option is, you know, euthanasia. Well, you know, straight away we jumped on that. We thought, no, you can't, just because it's an elderly dog, you know, I'm sure I can find a solution. And I called in some favours, and we ended up coming up with a solution. In the end, the dog ended up getting euthanized anyway. The woman was not happy with me. She was lodging an official complaint against me. She said I was disgusting because I said to her, look, I found a rescue group that takes, you know, and she just said, look, I'm not going to pay to get the dog out, blah, 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 blah. Basically, she didn't want to go into a whole lot of expense for this dog. And I said to her, look, you know, at the end of the day, can you just, I found someone to take her, can we just give her that? You know, it would be, a euthanasia cost would be just as much as what it was to get it out of the pound. My good deed really turned on me, and I was called disgusting, I was yelled at, Janine was yelled at, and an official complaint was being made against me, and I was unsuccessful in helping me out. So, you know, situations like that really, really hurt, because I wanted this outcome, and this was the outcome that happened, and there was nothing I can do. It wasn't for a lack of trying. But anyway, so that's the first scenario. Sorry about the interruptions. It is 11 o'clock. We've been open an hour. We've already had a dog come in on a catch pole. Very, very, very aggressive, hasn't it, Tani? It took 2 rangers and myself and Tani and an animal attendant to get this dog in. So it seems like we're going to run out of time to finish this. So the rest of it, I have typed up. Tani's going to post it during the week. And so I'm actually heading off to have a couple of days off. I'm feeling a bit exhausted. You said I looked...
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that you were going to have a couple of days off.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like my ride now.
Sounds good.
So I'm heading off to have a couple of days R&R. It's just been full on, obviously. So I'll leave it for Tani to put up as posts, and then you guys can read it when you've got 5 minutes. Otherwise, we're probably never going to get it finished.
Yeah.
So anyway, I will talk to you guys soon.
Awesome.
Look at this one running out the door.
She's ready to go.
City.
I know. I'm not used to seeing you in colour, mate.
Don't rain because I got my white shoes on.
They're very white as well. Woo-hoo. All right.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Sorry I couldn't get all the filming done, but we'll be on it a bit better.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Things change.
I know.
Rapidly.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye for now.